Hello, everyone. You're in the office with Joseph Skoda. And I routinely bring on different guests that have a lot of passion in what they're doing. They either talk about leadership or different volunteer organizations, or more importantly, just how they're helping out inside the community. Sometimes I give my words of wisdom, and more often than not, people would rather have me interview someone. So I do that quite frequently also. But in the meantime, I have a great guest. I want to share him with the world. I've known him probably a year or two. We haven't got to spend a lot of time due to our virtual environment where we're not always together. But anyways, I want to introduce everyone to a mover and shaker in more than one industry at a time. Please help me welcome Mr. Josh Damigo. Josh.
Hey, Joseph. I have to be here, buddy. Thank you.
Oh, this is great. First of all, where are you from exactly? You told me you're not from California.
No, I spent my younger years in between San Jose, California and Maine. So my parents divorced when I was 4, which gave me a great opportunity to spend the school year in the computer capital of the world and the summers in the middle of West Minot, Maine, population, I think 500 even to this day. And that gave me a real different life experience. I'm a huge Red Sox fan that grew up during the Bash Brothers. So Patriots and 49ers, I've got both tattoos on my arms.
Do you know I lived in Bangor, Maine for 4 years?
Bangor. Oh, yeah. Well,
I bought my very first house out that way.
My father teaches at the University of Maine in Bangor.
Oh, really? I went there.
There you go.
I went to University of Maine, Orono, just outside of Bangor.
Yeah.
Many, many moons ago. And I learned a lot. Well, first of all, you and I are Toastmasters, and we have businesses and other things going on. But do you know it took me 12 years to get my 2-year degree, my associate's degree? And obviously the military had something to do with it because I was deployed a lot. I couldn't always take classes when it was in person. But what slowed me down the most was speech. And back then, I tried to, I think it's CLEP or Dante's testing, where you would take a written exam and then talk into a tape recorder for 5 to 7 minutes. And every single time, I always passed written tests. I'm a very good student. I actually had scholarships because I was so smart once upon a time. But I could not talk. I was afraid to talk. And even talking into a microphone or a tape recorder back then, hit record. First time I did it in a room by myself. That didn't work. I failed. So I thought the next time I would do it in front of an instructor or someone I could just talk to, like a conversation. Once again, I failed. But so I eventually took the class through the University of Maine. I got an A. I got an A in speech. I think it's speech or public communication. Not really sure what it was. And I needed that. I actually got my associates and bachelor's at the same time.
Wow.
I achieved all these other things outside of there, the physics, the chemistry, the sciences, English, poetry. I actually took poetry or literature. I don't know what I took. But it was speech that slowed me down. Wow. And that's a little bit what I want to talk to you about today, how often we have obstacles that are kind of stuck up here, where we're afraid to go out there and share what we know with the world. Tell us a little bit about your story, Josh.
Yeah, a little different than yours. I have always been on the stage. As a 4-year-old, I was singing solos at the church. I was jumping into the Christmas cantata. I've always been a bit of a ham and a bit of the center of attention. Even playing soccer, I was so theatrical and could throw my body anywhere on the pitch that I got almost every referee in the league probably knew who I was because I was always getting the fouls called for me. I loved being on stage. My background really comes through in drama, public speaking. That's what my passion was growing up. And it developed into a 10-year music career, which I toured the country multiple times, opened for Jason Mraz, Matt Nathanson, Three Doors Down, the Jonas Brothers, and had a fantastic time doing all that. But eventually I realized this doesn't pay very well. And if I'm going to take my skill set and do something bigger, it may be in this realm or in this world, but I couldn't find a job that just paid you to speak. It's not like you can do that. So I found something called sales. And Joe, I don't know if you know about sales, but once I start talking with a country accent, you better watch your wallet. And I found that not only is the public speaking skills that I honed as a child and moving up allowed me to really articulate what my product was or get it back, but also the ethics that the old Zig Ziglars, the old Dale Carnegies, all of these people that we praise so often in Toastmasters don't really come across as much in my generation as a millennial. And as we're turning 40 this year, it's become sort of a specialty. It's a little, I think the best word is it's just unusual. It's novel to be a millennial that actually studies old 1980s sales techniques. And I'll tell you, that's really where I found my stride. And that's really what Toastmasters and kind of the public speaking world has done for me, is allowed me to look and talk and explain how our product can help a certain person, regardless of where I go in the industry.
So, that's a really good point. In fact, I have a friend of mine speaking at a Ziegler event right now, this week up in the Bay Area, and pretty exciting. And I hired him as a coach a couple of years ago. My sales were struggling in my business. My focus was changing sporadically all over the place. I hired a coach. And I found out, not hiring just any coach, but a coach that really knows what they're talking about. They demand some money. Has helped me exponentially. It's helped me exponentially realize the speaking I'm learning through Toastmasters and just getting myself out there. I can really use that skill to be a better salesperson, to be a better human being, a better leader, better in my relationships. And that's so important that we use those skills. Now, you talked about sales, and I believe everyone's a salesperson. We all are. We're selling ourselves to someone over one reason or another, usually to a significant partner. But too many people fight that notion that they are salespeople. Tell me a little bit about that and what sales means to you.
Yeah, there really is a connotation with salesmen that you just don't want it, right? Ooh, you're a manipulator. Ooh, you're going to come and be that slick guy that, I think I even had an ex-girlfriend recently who told me, oh, you are so persuasive. And I was like, well, cool. I hope so. I studied that stuff. And in what we do and what we teach at Influence Ecology, the company I work for, we actually embrace that. The idea of exchanging with other human beings. How do I say something and have them accept it? And the difference between, I think, a lot of people look at sales as manipulation is, if I'm manipulating someone, I'm having them do something they wouldn't naturally do on their own. But if I'm influencing them, it's much different. It's more like, how do I help you get what you want? How can I help you get from here to there? And when I look at my sales and the way that I approach things, not everybody's a customer of mine. And so I don't need to constantly be going around and hey, the used car salesman thing. But what I do is I show people what we do. And if it's a solution for them, I'm happy to tell them more. And really, I wrote and I'll share it with you so you can share it with your listeners. But I wrote a talk for the Pacific Coast Business Times on the 3 aspects of selling. And I tell everyone it's very simple. First, there's an invitation. An invitation is just to find out more. In this invitation, all I'm going to do is see, is this a possibility for you, or is it something that you're not interested in? If they say yes, then we'll set up a presentation. And in that presentation, that's when old Joe Skoda and I get to shine, because we get to razzle dazzle. We get to do the spirit fingers. We get to put on a great presentation, an award-winning presentation, something that's going to inspire and really give them what they're looking for, hopefully. And then the final thing is the contract. And boy, if you're like me, you don't like contracts. I do not. They make me nervous. They get me on you. I don't like them, but it does protect me. And when I'm comfortable with the contracts, when I can put a contract in front of someone and say, this is an ethical sale, something I'm going to do this, and you're going to do that, it makes it so much easier. And so that's how I break it down when it comes to sales. Number one, I accept that I'm a salesman. I cannot help it. I'm going to tell you about the movie I saw this weekend. I'm going to tell you about what's on my mug. I'm going to tell you about, even before this started, we started talking about the microphones we were using. I am a walking invitation to find out more. And if I embrace it, I might actually be able to make some money off of it. So I make really good invitations to the right people, make award-winning presentations, and then don't be afraid of the contract. And that, my friend, is my little, all those salespeople out there that are looking for some help. Don't be ashamed of it. Just help the right people get what they want.
Just embrace it. You just brought up a good point. You talked about talking to the right people. How do we know who those right people are? How do you define the right people for you to approach?
That's really good. I think a lot of people struggle with this. They think that they have I'll go back a step and say this. Joe, you're a smart guy, and I believe that you are a specialist when it comes to Toastmasters, when it comes to public speaking, when it comes to these things. And a lot of people are generalists in many ways. And many people have products in which they are generalizing. And what happens when you generalize is you start to believe that everyone could be your customer. And I don't think that's good, because if you're looking at, let's say, a medical doctor or a specialist, which one of those do you think works more, the medical doctor or the specialist?
Specialist every day.
Specialist is going to work more, but they're going to work in a very specific way. They're going to work in a very specific thing. They're going to be experts on that thing. And the MD or the regular doctor is probably just going to be doing a little bit of everything, which is great. And some people like that. But which one of those gets paid more for what they do? Is it the medical doctor or the specialist?
Well, the medical doctor usually refers us to a specialist because it's in-depth training in one field or another. So they should get paid more.
And what you find is that most people are willing to work more to make less as a generalist, when you could work less to make more as a specialist. So number one, understanding what your item is. What is special about your product or your service? What is that value that I shared with Unity Toastmasters yesterday? Because once you have that product and you know who your customer is, you start to siphon it off and say, you know what, I'm actually only going to help this specific customer. And when you specialize, you have a much better chance of being able to talk to the right people. For me, my customers are generally 30 to 55 years old. They're making somewhere between 100 to 350 a year. They're ambitious and they have a job. The fact that I can name those four things that easily allows me to say, this is my customer and this isn't. So then all I have to do is put myself in the way of those customers. Where do those people congregate? And then I just say, hi, I'm Josh. And from there, that's how I'm successful with sales. If you put yourself, first off, figuring out who your specific customer is, and then secondly, putting yourself in their way so that and even if you accidentally threw a rock, you're going to hit one of them, you're going to be really successful at sales. But the people that hold to a generalist viewpoint of I can help anybody are also going to be the people at the Chamber of Commerce that you don't want to sit next to because they can't turn off their sales.
I understand, but to a lot of chamber mixers, and we all mean well. The whole idea about a chamber is to get all the local businesses together to network, to mastermind, so everybody makes money in the long run. I totally understand that. And how you know those four things that are going to get you the right people, put yourself in front of them. Once again, my coach helped me define what I was looking for. Being an Air Force veteran, I focus on veterans and veterans issues and the transition from military to civilian world. Some, it's a real easy transition. Maybe you wear the suit in the military, you put one on when you walk out. But those that are wearing scrubs in the military, walk out, have to put on a suit, usually have a more struggle and challenge for themselves. So that's something I've learned I had to work with, like we all did. It's funny talking about sales because Right, we're going to tell someone about our favorite movie. We're going to tell about someone about our favorite microphone and where it's made. Going to tell someone about our favorite haircut, which obviously I need to get one. And I spent a lot of time focusing on branding. You know, I wear different hats in different meetings in my Toastmasters, and I feel that's real important because if you and I, let's just say Amway, for instance, we're both selling Amway. Why would someone buy from me rather than you? So I talk a lot about branding. Tell us a little bit about branding in what you do.
It's a really good question. And I think a lot of people underestimate how important branding is. And I'm going to use a different word. At Influence Ecology, we use the word career. And I'm going to use it this way. We define career as the identity of self you build in the mind of others. What am I doing over here that's making that person over there think a certain way? If you look behind you, Joe, on your background, I can see all kinds of things. You've got, it's educational. It looks like desk. On mine, I've got awards. I've got things. All of this is part of my brand. In fact, my glasses, as we talked about earlier, are a part of my brand. I could go get contacts. I don't have to wear them. But boy, if I put these on, I look a lot smarter. I tell you what. And it's so funny to me that when you stop and think about the brand that you are in and of yourself, who are you? What is the career that you're building? How are you becoming known? And the people that think about that tend to do a lot better than the people who don't. If I walk into a room and I just kind of like wander and saunter around and, talk trash about somebody or get really loud or this and that, people are going to naturally pull away from me. So what are the things that I can do that make people gravitate towards me? And when you figure out those things, that's what we teach, you start to see things come just a little bit easier because you're practicing the social norms. You're doing the things that are necessary in order for people to lean in. And a lot of times that helps with sales. It is a lot easier to sell in when someone goes, tell me more about what you do, than it is when you just bark at them. So more often than not, what I like to do is I like to tell them a little bit and then lean back. Dangle, dangle, lean back. And that give and take when it comes to how I'm known or the branding that I'm providing is really what I go for. Now, I'm a happy-go-lucky guy, but you don't need to know that. All you need to know is that this guy is reliable, full of sales. It helps if I'm likable, but I do study the weapons of influence, or they're called the levers of influence, which they're taught by Cialdini. And those are unity, reciprocation, commitment and consistency, liking, authority, social proof, and scarcity. And Joe, the fact that I can rattle those off like that lets you know I'm dangerous, because boy, if I start using one of those on you in any situation, you better watch yourself, because I'm coming for that wallet.
I love it. And how you mentioned I represent speaking and communication and Toastmasters. Right, respect, integrity, service, excellence. And what I love about those core values, they relate to the Air Force. Yeah. Air Force is service before self, excellence in all you do, integrity first. Same core values. And even though your terms might be a little differently, same thing. And being likable is important in sales, but it's not fully important. Knowing your stuff, you know what I was going to say, is important, that you're not blowing smoke up someone's butt, but you really believe in what you're talking about. I remember when I started sales years ago. Actually, I think it was Amway. I love the product. I think it was great. I love drawing the circles, talking to people. And yeah, it was overpriced. But that's how we all got paid. Almost all those jobs are overpriced. And either give the money to the store or give it to your reps out there in the world. But I see a lot of people jumping from business to business, whether it's network marketing or even a job, looking for how fast they can make a buck, how fast they can, put a suit on, how fast they can change their mindset of paying all their bills. And I think you'd have to agree, it's persistence, being consistent with what we're doing. Maybe obviously that brand, whatever's in the background, whatever's in the forefront, getting people to ask you about yourself is more important than, even if we had success overnight. And I don't know anyone who's ever had success overnight, but that's all you're going to hear about. Oh my goodness, you made it. Don't realize it took them 20 years to make it, for instance. Is that kind of your philosophy too? You just got to work on it slowly?
I think it's something you said earlier too that reminds me. It's the deliberate practice. It's the concept that it's not very fun. You still got to show up. You still got to keep talking to people. You still got to meet the right people. And people that jump around from job to job tend to not become experts on that thing. And then they become known for different things. And if I show up here and this week, I am a sales guy for influence ecology, but then I'm also a Arbonne person that sells this, or I start to dilute how I'm known. And then people can't refer you to me. People don't know, oh, I don't know a guy. I know a guy that might do something like that. So really understanding what my value is. Do I trust this product? And am I going to stick with it long enough to actually see it work? I think too often people don't realize that success is not a straight line. You know, it's not that overnight thing. It's sort of this wiggly line that kind of goes up if you're doing it right. And if you can find the right product in which you are the right salesperson, and you can find the right people and you just keep at it, it might take some time, but like you said, it's not going to be overnight. And I think the biggest thing is the longer you're in a career, the longer that you're in that job or that work and you're satisfied with it, the better it's going to go. And the people that jump around for the next quickest buck, that's not somebody you want. That's not somebody you want to be around. And I encourage many people that are on LinkedIn, figure out how you want to be known. You don't need to put every single job that you've ever held. People don't care that you worked at Chuck E. Cheese when you were 18. They want to know what you're doing and how you can be helpful to them. And so when you look at my LinkedIn, you'll see it's all education. I work in education. I love helping people. I'm not a life coach. Dear Lord, don't tell me your problems. But what I can tell you is that if you take this education, you're going to be more influential and things are going to be a lot easier, because the people that can exchange with others easier tend to have an easier time. And the simplicity of that and the rolling off of my tongue and the fact that this is going to be my job for life until they kick me out, I think that's going to go a lot longer than if I jumped away and went and worked at LinkedIn Learning or selling to government, or jumped away and worked at Amgen, or moved in a bunch of different ways. Knowing kind of what satisfies me in my work, in my career, has allowed me to stay with this, even though it's not an easy sale. And it's allowed me to kind of see the prosperity and the surplus that I'm experiencing now.
No, I cannot agree with you more. It's pretty exciting. Being in the military, even though I did 21 years, I've had 6 or 7 jobs just in that organization, whatsoever. And it's important we tag those things. But you're right, one brand ourselves, no one cares that, anyways, the volunteer thing, sometimes we do things in the volunteer world that emphasizes what we care about and our integrity and our brand. And those things are so important. I wanted to bring up something really quick that we talked about, not just earlier, but we talked about yesterday. A little bit about trying to get in shape, how you have a goal of getting something done, and what would happen, what's the consequence if you were not able to achieve that goal or get something done. I'm not going to spill the beans. I'll let you do that and share that with our audience. I love it.
Well, I'll say this. I've studied at Influence Ecology now for about 3 years. I'm about to finish the final program that we have, and I'm actually teaching it now, which is way more fun than sales, but don't get me started there. I don't want to dilute my identity. I'll tell you this, though. One of the things that we've realized and that we teach is the idea of when you think about carrot and stick. Now, some people would say, oh, you have to reward people. You have to do this and that. And yeah, that's great. That's a good idea. But I will tell you, some things that are really effective is understanding the consequences of actions. Consequences have a bad connotation. And it's not always that they're good or bad. I mean, they're always good or bad. They just are. And what I've found recently is that if your consequence is worse for not doing what you intend to do, you're going to get it done. Said another way, if I have an idea, I want to lose weight. I'm a great example. I was 45 pounds heavier 3 years ago. I was just looking at some photos from 2 years ago, and boy, you would not recognize me back then. If I want to lose weight, there are some actions that must be taken in order to do that. And those small actions are going to the gym and working out, eating right. There are a bunch of different ways I can do it, but I need to pick the one that's going to work for me and my body type and my aim. So after knowing my aim and what I want to do, and then figuring out what is the work that's necessary in order to achieve that aim, I then set up a consequence or a contract with myself that says, if you don't do this, this happens. And maybe many of the people that listen to your show know my boss, Kirkland Tibbles. And when I said, Kirkland, I'm going to go to the gym 4 days a week for an hour each day, because those are actionable items that I can take and I can control. He said, great, what's your consequence? And I said, I don't know. I haven't thought of one yet. And that brilliant, lovely, wonderful, joking young man looked me dead in the eye and he said, well, I think you should have to shave an eyebrow. Now, Joe, this stuff is hard to sell. It is really hard to sell without an eyebrow. And then I don't know about you, but for me, going to the gym is not as painful as shaving an eyebrow and walking around Ventura without an eyebrow. I'd probably have to shave the other one, and that's even worse. All Kirkland had to do was remind me of the consequence. So if I showed up to the office and there was a Mach 3 razor sitting on my desk, you knew I was grabbing my gym bag and I were exactly where I was going, because there was no way I was going to do it. If the consequence to inaction is worse than doing what you want to do, you're probably going to get it done. So I tell everybody, make a consequence that is so bad that it is a foregone conclusion that you're going to do the actions necessary in order to achieve your aim. You're going to get it done. And I think that right there is how I lost 45 pounds and kept it off, which we need to normalize, and we need to cheer for people keeping weight off, because it is hard. And number two, paying off student loans, paying off debts, paying off a bunch of things. I was able to do that because I set up a consequence that made it worse than actually paying those things off. And you can do it in many different aspects of your life. And that's what I tell people all the time. Get that. What's your consequence? What's your consequence? So that's how I look at it. Give me that stick all day. I don't need a carrot. I probably do need a carrot. I'm hungry.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine that shaved their eyebrows a few years ago, and they never grew back. And today, it had to be at least 20 years, they still haven't grown back. And very frustrating for her. I just can imagine. Especially, I mean, women, they usually use the eyeshadow or eyeliner and get away with it for a while. Man, I don't know. It's a whole different story. It's kind of obvious there. So who are some of the leaders or your spiritual of influence, your sphere of influence? Who do you look up to?
Well, I am really lucky. I'm a millennial. I'm 37 years old. I was born in 83, and I've been able to surround myself with people that are a lot smarter and wiser than myself. Most of the people I work with are in their late 50s, early 60s, and Kirkland Tibbles is one of them. My CEO, John Patterson, is a brilliant man with, decades of experience in teaching. One of my others is the CEO and president of the Chamber of Commerce here in Ventura, and her name is Stephanie Caldwell. And I'm always looking for different people that I can kind of up my game. Who are those people that are going to refine me, that are going to tell me the things that are uncomfortable? When it comes to things that I read, my bookshelf is littered full of people like Zig Ziglar, Dale Carnegie. I'm currently reading a book by Frank Betcher, who is a Dale Carnegie disciple. I love those old school, happy-go-lucky sales folks that tell you, hey, sales is tough. It's the hardest job you're ever going to have in the world. It's also the most fun you're going to have. And I think that surrounding myself with people that have already seen it, surrounding myself with people that have kind of already been through what I've been through as, a recovering musician who is now in the world of sales, understanding, hey, I'm now reaching people who are sometimes 20 years older than me and helping them to live satisfied lives. I need to be around people who are actually doing it. And one of the things that you also said earlier is having a coach. For me, making sure that you not only grab people that can give you good feedback, but people who are qualified to give that feedback. And the concept of qualified feedback is so important. And it's why I love Toastmasters. You get someone with a DTM, and those people, those distinguished Toastmasters, can rip apart your speech really easily. It's not very fun, but if you lean into that discomfort and get people that are actually doing what you want to do, you're going to have an easier time. I'll give you a quick example. Don't get dating advice from your single friends. They're not doing what you're trying to do. Get dating advice from people who have successfully dated and are successfully dating. If you want to be a millionaire, don't hang out with the kid who's struggling to make his rent. Go hang out with the millionaires. And that to me is a really big and important thing for people to figure out and understand is who are you going to surround yourself with? Who is that sphere of influence that is qualified to be in your sphere of influence? And I think most people are just looking for a quick fix or someone to give them advice. No, I think you ought to go to someone who's actually doing what you want to do if you're going to get feedback. So that's the long-winded answer of your question, I guess.
No, that's a great answer. And I used to hang out, believe it or not, at a bar locally where a lot of travelers would come in and out of. But at that bar were CEOs, supervisors, managers, millionaires, a lot of people, business owners, whether they're millionaires or not, but they all had ideas. They were moving, they were on the phone, or they were meeting people there for lunch over and over again. And being in the right place at the right time and realizing it's not just a bunch of drunks in the corner, but people are there making real business connections. A few years ago, I'm at the Santa Maria Inn in California, in Santa Maria. And I met this guy who owned a mobile home park nearby. And he just asked me, hey, you play golf? I said, well, not really, but it's been a while. I don't know what I say. He said, why don't you come play with us? So I went to play golf in Santa Maria. I was horrible. I've got 2 sets of clubs in my garage. Probably haven't held any of them in 10 years. I'm horrible. It's not a passion of mine. So I played. I didn't do so good. The guy bought a couple drinks and dinner. So, okay, it was great. You know, give me your number. I'll call you sometime. Great. 2 months later, I get a phone call from this guy. He says, hey, you want to come up to Napa Valley and play? I mean, that's a good 5 or 6 hour drive if I was to drive it. I said, well, you know I didn't do so good last time. He says, I don't care. I like you. You want to play? I said, yeah. He says, I'll fly you up for the week. So he flew me up from Santa Maria up to Napa Valley, up in San Francisco, and he picked me up and spent some time at his pretty nice house. We played a lot of golf, ate a lot of good food, and he was always feeding me stuff. Hey, have you looked into this? Have you thought about that? Back then, I was kind of stupid and wanted to talk about myself. Well, I'm in the Air Force, and I did this, and boy, I'm from the great state of Ohio. If I would just learn to shut up back then and listen to all that free advice, because I think the successful people they want to mentor others. And more often than not, people are blowing smoke up their butt or brown nose and just trying to get ahead and not really listening to the advice that is given them. So anyways, I went up to Napa Valley, played golf. I was horrible again, never heard from him after that fact. But maybe if I would have just shut up more and took more notes and asked more questions, maybe I'd be doing a little bit differently today. Maybe I'd be more successful. Or if nothing else, maybe my golf game would have gotten better. So those things are real important, that we pay attention to people around us who are trying to help us. And I see that being a struggle for too many of us. And today people ask me to mentor them all the time, mostly because I'm in Postmaster, the DTM like you talked about. And a few months ago, I had to say no. Because I would always say, yes, 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 yes. And we have to know when to say no. We have to know when we're not the best fit. We have to know when we just don't have the time. We have to know there's someone better that can help them. Now, once you get to know me after a while, you know there's someone better can help you in a lot of cases. But before I wrap it up, you mentioned something really good about the feedback that we need from someone. Someone you mentioned, Toastmasters, gives us that great evaluation. And usually a distinguished Toastmaster because they have a little bit more experience. Now, we're taught the sandwich approach. Obviously, hey, you're doing a good job. We love you. Had good eye contact. Your gestures are great. And then a little bit in the middle. Well, your voice could have been a little stronger. You could have paused more. And then we'll close it up with, yes, but you'll get better next time. Whatever that sandwich approach looks to most of us. So a lot of us in Toastmasters or other organizations need to either switch clubs or go to an advanced club, where an advanced club, you want to get better, then you're going to demand someone be a better evaluator and give you the best feedback that they can. We can't stay where we are forever. We plateau after a while. I talk about this in clubs. If you're still here 5 or 10 years from here and you haven't moved, and laterally is okay, but you got to move and shake it up. You're not growing. We're not growing. And that's really sad. Well, Josh, how can our audience find you?
Well, the easiest way to find me is just to add me on LinkedIn. And I think it's like LinkedIn, and then you just type in Josh Damigo. Let me know you heard me on this podcast. Let me know that you heard me with Joe, and I'll be like, sweet, great. And I will immediately add you. That's probably the best way to get a hold of me. But Influence Ecology is the name of the company. And I'm happy to give you all of my stats. But if anybody wants to connect with me professionally, I will be your best friend. I'm going to love you before I met you. I'm going to love you after I know you, and I'm going to love you way past when I probably should. So if anything I said today sounds like something that you is aligned with what you're doing and what you want, come hang out with me, and I'll introduce you to all of my friends. It's wonderful. So I hope that's good. And Joe, I don't know how you do your podcast, but I'll tell you what, it has been such a pleasure to be on with you today. And I really, really enjoy all that you do for Toastmasters. In fact, if anybody wants to come to my Toastmasters club, I'm in Diversity Toastmasters and Influence Ecology Toastmasters. And Joe, you've been there, and it is the first completely virtual avatar driven Toastmasters club that we know about in the world, where you make a little avatar and you walk around a virtual campus and then come in and play that video game with everybody else. And if you want to be a part of that, you're welcome to come to my club anytime.
It's a challenge getting in, but once you figure things out, and that's just another skill set to add to our repertoire. All right. Any words of wisdom to everyone out there if they want to get ahead in life, or at least have a happy life?
I'll say this. There's two things. Number one, know your aims. Know what you want. If you don't explore those, you can kind of wander around drifting a little bit. Know what you're looking for, because that just knowing what your aim is in any situation is really important. And the second one is this. Kirkland Tibbles once told me the 3 words that he uses all the time, and it's something that always rings in my head. And those are grace, finesse, and gratitude. And if you can constantly remember those 3 words, no matter who you come across, you're going to be out ahead.
I love that. Grace, finesse, gratitude. Tell Kirkland I said hi.
I will do.
Thank you so much. Well, everyone, you've been in the office with Joseph Skoda. Actually, been in the office with Josh Damigo. He has a lot more interesting things to share than I do. And it's so important that we do share. So we're asking you to subscribe to our channel, of course, share this information others with other people so we have a bigger database. And if you're looking for a specific topic that you would like me to cover or one of my guests to cover, please put in the chat box, share, comment. You know how to find me, josephskoda.com. Once again, you're in the office with G.I. Joe Skoda. Have yourself a great day. Talk to you soon now. Bye. If you liked our show, please subscribe to our YouTube channel or find us on any social media platform, Instagram, of course, Facebook. Like, subscribe, share. We appreciate it. Let us know your thoughts and join our team. Anyways, we appreciate you staying tuned week after week, day after day, because we continuously build up our network to bring to you what you're asking for. Have a great day.
Traditional TV is going away. Hollywood is starting to fade. People are demanding real stories from real people. Our voices are now being heard in our own way. Podcasts, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok Live are becoming the norm. Internet TV has now reached the highest demand in human history. Social media shows is now the new media of the century.
As we continue to grow and build a brand, social media shows continue to develop and discover new possibilities to help one another. Our affordable services will help us move to the next level of our journey. Host your own show to inspire or entertain others for as low as $150 per month.
You have 20 shows a week, live stream.
We are looking for sponsors. We showcase your business products and services on our network to be seen by your target market for as low as $200 a month.
That's 2 percentage points short of reaching critical mass, which will lead to faster results. We have 20 plus shows with a reach of over 80,000. We'll give you commercial ads, website link, and connections to nonprofit organizations.
Let us promote and advertise your event, giving your venue the red carpet treatment. This platform allows venues that feature entertainment, singers, bands, DJs, comedy, fashion, corporate events, and family events to be showcased in a new direction that also involves your audiences starts at $200 an hour. We also provides video editing, website builder, commercial video for your business, music videos, photography, provided by our affiliates. As we build our community, we pay it forward. Our nonprofit organization GI Connections is all about giving back to our community. Join us create outreach programs to help our community and live a happy, peaceful, and unity. Let us bring the world to you.
Live streaming on social media is the best new way to interact and bond with your community. Do you love to encourage, motivate, and empower others, but you do not know how? Well, your opportunity starts with us on social media shows. We have 20 shows a week live streamed across the globe with a reach of over 80,000 and growing. So you can host your own show and you can be anything you want to be. So let's bring the community together and let's bring the world to you. Join us now. We've reached the age of live streaming on social media shows. You may ask, we're already ahead of the curve, so why do you need to advertise with us? Well, only 8% of the businesses in the US are using digital advertising to grow their business. That's 2 percentage points short of reaching critical mass, which will lead to faster results. We have 20 plus shows with a reach of over 80,000. We'll give you commercial ads, website link, and connections to nonprofit organizations. So get your brand ready for digital monetization, for we are looking for sponsors, which will bring more traffic to your business and ultimately mean more sales. So let's bring the world to you. Inquire now.
John is an employee at one of the most famous firms in the city of New York, so his job is very hectic, and he realized that it is necessary for him to go and finally take a vacation. But he went on a vacation without planning out the details, and and wasn't able to truly enjoy where he went because he had to think about so many things that he didn't plan for. Instead of enjoying his time away from work, he came back with more stress that he was not able to take full advantage of his vacation. But this year, a coworker suggested him to try World Ventures this time to make his vacationing more enjoyable and less stressful. They do not require you to plan anything outside of your transportation, which is also available at discounted rates. Your stay, your transport, and many meals are planned by the club. John liked the idea very much. He tries World Ventures, and his experience with the club was amazing, as he made many friends there with whom he had a great time. John recommends that everyone should try this club, as they are the best in business. See how the VIP-vacation-club.com can give you the right experience without all the hassle. Enjoy the VIP experience that only World Ventures provide.
Listen, check it. Try to build a bridge, instead I burned it down. Oh, I tried to lift him up, but found me beaten down to the ground.
Hello, everyone. You're in the office with Joseph Skoda. And I routinely bring on different guests that have a lot of passion in what they're doing. They either talk about leadership or different volunteer organizations, or more importantly, just how they're helping out inside the community. Sometimes I give my words of wisdom, and more often than not, people would rather have me interview someone. So I do that quite frequently also. But in the meantime, I have a great guest. I want to share him with the world. I've known him probably a year or two. Haven't got to spend a lot of time due to our virtual environment where we're not always together. But anyways, I want to introduce everyone to a mover and shaker in more than one industry at a time. Please help me welcome Mr. Josh Damigo. Josh.
Hey, Joseph. Happy to be here, buddy. Thank you.
Oh, this is great. First of all, where are you from exactly? You told me you're not from California.
No, I spent my younger years in between San Jose, California and Maine. So my parents divorced when I was 4, which gave me a great opportunity to spend the school year in the computer capital of the world and the summers in the middle of West Minot, Maine, population, I think 500 even to this day. And that gave me a real different life experience. I'm a huge Red Sox fan that grew up during the Bash Brothers. So Patriots and 49ers, I've got both tattoos on my arms.
Do you know I lived in Bangor, Maine for 4 years?
Bangor. Oh, yeah. Well,
I bought my very first house out that way.
My father teaches at the University of Maine in Bangor.
Oh, really? I went there.
There you go.
I went to University of Maine, Orono, just outside of Bangor.
Yeah.
Many, many moons ago. And I learned a lot. Well, first of all, you and I are Toastmasters, and we have businesses and other things going on. But do you know it took me 12 years to get my 2-year degree, my associate's degree? And obviously the military had something to do with it because I was deployed a lot. I couldn't always take classes when it was in person. But what slowed me down the most was speech. And back then, I tried to, I think it's CLEP or Dante's testing, where you would take a written exam and then talk into a tape recorder for 5 to 7 minutes. And every single time, I always passed written tests. I'm a very good student. I actually had scholarships because I was so smart once upon a time. But I could not talk. I was afraid to talk. And even talking into a microphone or a tape recorder back then, hit record. The first time I did it in a room by myself. That didn't work. I failed. So I thought the next time I would do it in front of an instructor or someone I could just talk to, like a conversation. Once again, I failed. But so I eventually took the class through the University of Maine. I got an A. I got an A in speech. I think it's speech or public communication. Not really sure what it was. And I needed that. I actually got my associates and bachelor's at the same time.
Wow.
I achieved all these other things outside of there, the physics, the chemistry, the sciences, English, poetry. I actually took poetry or literature. I don't know what I took. But it was speech that slowed me down.
Wow.
And that's a little bit what I want to talk to you about today, how often we have obstacles that are kind of stuck up here, where we're afraid to go out there and share what we know with the world. Tell us a little bit about your story, Josh.
Yeah, a little different than yours. I have always been on the stage. As a 4-year-old, I was singing solos at the church. I was jumping into the Christmas cantata. I've always been a bit of a ham and a bit of the center of attention. Even playing soccer, I was so theatrical and could throw my body anywhere on the pitch that I got almost every referee in the league probably knew who I was because I was always getting the fouls called for me. I loved being on stage. My background really comes through in drama, public speaking. That's what my passion was growing up. And it developed into a 10-year music career, which I toured the country multiple times, opened for Jason Mraz, Matt Nathanson, Three Doors Down, the Jonas Brothers, and had a fantastic time doing all that. But eventually I realized this doesn't pay very well. And if I'm going to take my skill set and do something bigger, it may be in this realm or in this world, but I couldn't find a job that just paid you to speak. It's not like you can do that. So I found something called sales. And Joe, I don't know if you know about sales, but once I start talking with a country accent, you better watch your wallet. And I found that not only is the public speaking skills that I honed as a child and moving up allowed me to really articulate what my product was or get it back, but also the ethics that the old Zig Ziglars, the old Dale Carnegies, all of these people that we praise so often in Toastmasters don't really come across as much in my generation as a millennial. And as we're turning 40 this year, it's become sort of a specialty. It's a little, I think the best word is it's just unusual. It's novel to be a millennial that actually studies old 1980s sales techniques. And I'll tell you, that's really where I found my stride. And that's really what Toastmasters and kind of the public speaking world has done for me, is allowed me to look and talk and explain how our product can help a certain person, regardless of where I go in the industry.
So, that's a really good point. In fact, I have a friend of mine speaking at a Ziegler event right now, this week up in the Bay Area, and pretty exciting. And I hired him as a coach a couple of years ago. My sales were struggling in my business. My focus was changing sporadically all over the place. I hired a coach. And I found out, not hiring just any coach, but a coach that really knows what they're talking about. They demand some money. Has helped me exponentially. Realize